Go ahead, Karen.
Let's give Karen another few seconds to come to the mic.
Yeah, she typed in her question. Jack, her question is in the pink text, a little bit up.
I see it there. I'll go ahead and take that. You're asking me a very similar question here. You live in Indianapolis, outside a residential area, but you're about 25 minutes away from downtown. Is that far enough out? Or is it better to find like-minded people or prepare alone with my family? And don't worry about not having a mic. That's why we have a chat room, too. Here's the deal. I get the question, am I far enough out a lot of the time? This is a personal thing. You're going to have to answer that for yourself. Is that style of life, and you can answer me with text as I'm asking some rhetorical things here so I can fine-tune it for you. Is this a place, again, is this a place you want to live? Do you want to really be there, or do you want to be somewhere else? When people say, are they far enough out, they're generally talking about if we have a major breakdown of society. And, again, I always tell you that this is a possibility, but the probability of a complete collapse to a point where we have, Road Warrior or something like that, you say you love the area. So I'm going to tell you that it's probably fine if everything works financially for you. Right, because if we have the Road Warrior scenario, small towns are going to have problems too, right? So you might as well live where you want to live. It doesn't really hurt you, though, to maybe open up your options and start looking at, maybe it does make sense to look at other pieces of land. Again, always with land, shopping is totally free. There's no cost to it whatsoever. So always be looking at things and see if there's something maybe that makes sense for you. When I bought our second piece of property, my family thought it was very, very risky. And I mean my extended family, not my direct family. And Mike, you know what? You can't get toilet paper easily with a shotgun, dude. I'll tell you why in just a second. Anyway, that was from out of the chat room. But when we bought our second piece of property, I thought it was you guys bought a second house. But we bought a rural piece of property with a very low payment. In fact, my payment was less than my brother-in-law, who thought this was risky. It was less than he had the payment on his SUV. So there's often really great buys in real estate if you'll shop. So maybe it makes sense to look for something outside as a second piece of property, as a fallback location, or as we call it in the survival niche, a bug-out location. But don't leave a place that you like unless it's got real problems. If you start to see underlying problems in your neighborhood and you start to see it go into decay, it's probably time to get out. Because once they start going downhill, they generally don't rebound. Now, the guy that said that you can get toilet paper with a shotgun, here's the problem with that scenario. And anybody that has that attitude, and I'm not saying you do, dude, I'm not really picking on you, but there are people that have, well, if I'll just have my guns and I'll go take whatever I want, come take my toilet paper with your shotgun. You're going to end up with a 44 caliber hole between your eyes over a roll of toilet paper. It makes a hell of a lot more sense for you to store up your toilet paper. And you see Mike saying he doesn't, and I'm teasing you, Mike, there. But there are people that think that way. And if you do, please get that out of your head. We store an awful lot of extra things like rice, corn, and beans that we don't really love. It's there for really long term. But we do it because if we do have a neighbor that wants some food, it's easier to feed them than to shoot them. But if it comes down to the point where we've got to survive and someone is going to take it by force, you're going to find that the person that you think is no threat to you, that you can just walk all over, if the shit hits the fan and they have to take care of their family and you're going towards them, they have an inherent advantage. And the guy that's an accountant or a clerk or a computer programmer that doesn't want to hurt anybody, they're going to put you in a world of hurt when it comes down to feeding their kids. Again, Mike, I'm not picking on you, man. I just know there is that sentiment out there, and I wanted to quell it while I could. I'm going to go ahead and knock my mic off, and again, whoever's got the next question, let me know. I don't know how to moderate this room with the hands-up thing. It looks to me like ISRC is the next person in line.
Go ahead, ISRIC. Go ahead with your question.
I think I think she or he has got a text question.
Their question was about shipping containers. It's typed above.
Just a suggestion, if you guys copy and paste and have it ready, so when he calls on you, you just paste it, in, just in case if it's past a few minutes.
Okay, I see it now, and what he's asking about is shipping containers, upsize, downsize, reasonable alternative to acquiring a new mortgage. Shipping container housing seems to be gaining popularity, and the designs are becoming attractive and accepted. I've been researching quite a while now. Shipping container housing is cool stuff, but I don't think it saves people the amount of money that they really think it does when you look at build a finished home. When you look at a home, a shell is a very minor part of it, and when you do shipping containers to build a house, you end up with the shell at a low cost. So there can be some savings, but the issue is there's a fairly costly coating you need to spray on them to give it a good R value of insulation. The upside, you've got a hell of a house. I mean, you've got down to almost bulletproof, a good, very high survivability in any type of a storm or something like that. But you're going to find out that when you start looking at actually putting in things like a kitchen and a bathroom and flooring and things like that, you're going to end up quite a bit of money to finish them out. The cost of the container, thank you, Jonathan, the cost of the container is minuscule compared to finishing the home. What I really like containers for, though, is on that homestead, bringing in a couple of them and using them for building very secure outbuilding, storage things. I've seen people set them partly or all the way in the ground or set them into a hillside. There's a tremendous amount of flexibility there. If you want to build a home with them, don't think I'm putting them down. I'm just saying you're going to spend more money than you think you're going to spend because you're going to have to do all the finish work. But you'll probably still be able to bring down your cost per square foot over conventional housing by about 10 to 15, maybe even 20%. Plus you're going to get the like I said, just a bulletproof house from a storm survivability. I'm going to go ahead. The next question I saw after that looks like it's from MyTech 1969. If you don't have a mic, please go ahead and cut and paste your question for me.
Hi, Jack. Great to talk to you. Can you hear me? Jack, can you hear me, Jack?
Yes, Mike, go ahead and ask your question.
Okay, great. My question is, I just said it too. I am storing some food long term, and I actually have them in 5-gallon buckets with Mylar bags, and vacuum seal them all out, get as much oxygen absorbers. But I wanted to replace the oxygen that's in there, or overwhelm it, I should say, with some nitrogen. And I wanted to know, do I need a special, like, food-grade nitrogen, or would any nitrogen work in that situation? Thanks.
Well, nitrogen's nitrogen. It's the same molecule. There's no difference between any atmospheric nitrogen extracted and purified out or any other nitrogen out there. So there's no need to worry about that. If you're packing food the way that you say you're packing it, you're probably not buying yourself a whole lot. If you've got O2 absorbers, especially if the food's individually packed and vacuum sealed and then inside Mylar and you've got additional O2 there, and then you put your O2 absorbers inside your 5-gallon bucket, dude, you're probably solid and you're probably adding a step and an expense you don't need. You're not going to probably extend very much the life of your food. And what I would tell you is one of the things you can do for that, if you have that Mylar in there and you have a fairly large gap in the bucket where, O2 expensive, go down to like Walmart or a sporting goods store or something like that, and you know those home hand warmers that they sell in the sporting goods section? Those are a great giant O2 absorber. Get those when they go on sale. Toss a couple of those in your empty space in that bucket. Yep, absolutely, Mike. Lock that bucket down, and you're gonna suck up all the O2 in there. All an oxygen absorber is a little bit of iron filings with some chemicals added to it. They cause the oxygen to rust quickly when or cause the iron to rust quickly when exposed to oxygen. And when that happens, it creates heat. The chemicals inside your little O2 absorbers are the exact chemicals and iron filings that are in a hand warmer. That's all it is the iron rusts, and when iron rusts, it's oxidizing, and it uses the oxygen out of the environment. Also, be careful with Mylar. If you really push out the air heavily, and you put in some O2 absorbers, if you actually vacuum seal it, and you get any additional take-up, sometimes Mylar can rupture because it gets so tight from that. Generally, forcing the air out of Mylar, sealing it with a hot iron, and adding a couple O2 absorbers inside the Mylar is sufficient with the Mylar stuff. Let's go ahead. It looks to be Radio Crafter. Again, if you have not, you don't have a mic, go ahead and cut and paste your question for me. Okay, I got you there in the text message. No mic. This is Chuck Raycraft in the forum. Where do you feel the signs will be that hyperinflation has begun? I imagine we are still on active duty military reserves. Will have special issues mitigating the effects. This is a superb venue. Here's the thing with hyperinflation. It's not about... There's varying degrees of anything. So we could go into a period that looks very much like hyperinflation, or if you think it's just when the president agrees to it there, Jim, it's you're oversimplifying things. Just kidding, man. Anyway, the big signs are going to be when people start letting money flow. And we end up in a period where costs are going up concurrently with that. The only thing holding back inflation right now is something called the velocity of money. It's not that the money has not been devalued, because it has, but people are holding on to it, and it's kind of got the economy stuck.